comes to saltatory, we're at a minimum of 3. So the fastest continuous conduction is slower still than the slowest saltatory conduction. Look how fast saltatory conduction can be. That's ridiculous. 120 meters per second. 60 times faster than the fastest continuous conduction. And this is 50% faster than the fastest continuous conduction, and that's the slowest saltatory conduction. So this is way faster. Again, what's the main reason? We don't have to generate too many action potentials over the same length. That's the main reason. You can see. Okay? Are we good? Why is this happening, by the way? These action potentials are conducting along this axon, because this is an axon, or some other cell, to communicate. We'll talk about shortly. We'll talk about synapses. Where are these synapses going? Why are they being generated? Why are they conducting along membranes? Let the cell can do what it's supposed to do, or for it to communicate. That's going to be the main gist of our story. But before we get to the main gist of the story when it comes to communication, let's talk a little bit about MS. I know you guys are learning about MS. You might actually be getting an exam. You have a quiz there, right? Is MS going to be on the quiz? All right, well, let me help you out. Well, you guys already know. You can tell me. Tell me what MS does. What does MS do? It destruction of myelin in the central nervous system, correct? That's what MS is. What's destroying the myelin, by the way? What's doing it? Your immune system. It is an autoimmune disease, just like type 1 diabetes, or lupus, or rheumatoid arthritis, or many other diseases that you guys will learn about someday. Your immune system looks at the myelin in your central nervous system, and it thinks it's a pathogen. It thinks it's foreign. Now, why does your immune system do that? It beats the hell out of us. All right, if we knew, we could stop it from happening, but we don't know why your immune system gets all stupid like that. So our immune system starts to eat the myelin, and it starts to sclerose the tissue, multiple sclerosis, like scarring. So what happens as a result of that? So let's draw a myelinated axon. So there's our myelinated axon within the central nervous system, not peripheral nervous system, by the way. So what's being destroyed, by the way? What makes up myelin in your central nervous system? Remind me again. The feet of oligodendrocytes, right? The processes of oligodendrocytes produce the myelin, correct? That's what's being targeted. And so let's say everything is good over here, but now over here, this is where we start to get destruction. That, in a nutshell, is MS. Now, there are conditions in the peripheral nervous system that mimic MS, or that are like MS. One of them is very progressive. I might mention it in a couple of weeks. Okay? But for right now, let's just talk about MS. So our action potential will be generated here just fine. Our action potential will be generated here just fine. And here just fine. But now we don't have myelin anymore. No, that's not what happens. All right? I'm going to show you what does not happen. So when we go from that to that, we have myelin here, and now it's gone here, gone here. No. No. And no. Unfortunately. Okay? The action potentials stop. What happens to conduction in somebody with MS? The action potentials stop. They cannot move beyond this point. They're done. That's why people have the symptoms that people have with MS. If it affects neurons that are responsible for sight, you start to have vision problems, or hearing problems if it's the neurons that are responsible for hearing, or if it's neurons that are responsible for motor activity, you start to have weakness. MS has lots of different symptoms. Everybody, or people with MS, can have 18 million symptoms, and most people with MS have very different symptoms. They all kind of have a pattern to them, but no one person will have exactly the same symptoms the way that they present. All right, it depends on what area of the central nervous system is being affected. And once that myelin is destroyed, it's gone forever. It's not coming back. And there are 4 forms of MS, as you guys conduction is being stopped. And if conduction is stopped, communication is lost. And so now that stimulus, when it comes to light, you just don't see it as well. Or hearing, or movement, or whatever. Okay? So I want you to know that when it comes to multiple sclerosis, we get no conduction beyond where the and the axon's being damaged too, by the way. Okay? That myelin starts to get all messed up. The process is going to start to get all scarred as well. Okay? Are we good? Yes, sir.
So does it affect the oligodendrocytes as well as just destroying the myelin? Because you said it's completely gone, it doesn't come back, and if those are what makes the myelin, then...
Yeah, there's no repair in the brain. Okay? Are we good? And it's progressive. Now, if it wasn't, let's just say it hit you for a week, and then the immune system said, okay, we're done, we're not going to destroy anything anymore. If you had neurons that were near the neurons that got destroyed, those neurons could take over the job of the neurons. So if MS was not a progressive disease, the symptoms would go away. But unfortunately, it is a it doesn't stop. In some people, it's more aggressive than in other people. But unfortunately, it just doesn't stop. Okay? And sometimes you can go a couple, 2, 3 years without. You might have symptoms for a week, and then you don't have anything for like months, a couple years. But then boom, hit you again. All right? Good? Okay. So now we can move forward. And what are we going to move forward to? Nothing. We're going to take a break. When we come back, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about synapses. Okay, shall we continue? All right, so let's talk about communication now. And I know that Steve talked to you guys about this already as well, but we're going to go into it in a little bit more detail. As I said before, one of the reasons that these action potentials are conducting along these membranes is for communication between two cells. So this neuron wants to communicate with another neuron. Now again, is that the only reason conduction occurs? It's not. But it's one of the bigger reasons that it does. So let's talk about how we have communication between these cells that are coupled with each other via these synapses. Now in this particular picture, we have three synapses. We have this neuron communicating with this neuron through an axonal dendritic synapse. So the synapse is between the axon and the dendrite. This neuron is communicating with this neuron via this axon and the cell body. This neuron right here is actually communicating with this neuron, which is going to then allow this cell to indirectly communicate with this neuron. If you look at this closely, this neuron is synapsing with this neuron via the axon. You can have axon-axon synapses. A lot of times when it's introduced, you know, it's always, well, it's axon dendrite or it's axon cell body. No, it can be any part of the neuron where synapses are. So this axon from this neuron is synapsing with the axon of this neuron, and since this neuron is communicating with this neuron, so is this one. It's just indirect. And this is actually a very simplified way of looking at the synapses in the nervous system and in the body itself, because this is not the only place we see synapses. Synapses are between other kinds of cells as well. Your cardiac muscle cells in your heart are synapsed with each other. Smooth muscle cells, which are wrapped around hollow organs in your body, most of them are synapsed with each other. So it's not a phenomenon seen just with neurons. It's just that's when it's first introduced. And we're going to see synapses between cardiac muscle cell later this semester and next semester, and smooth muscle cells this semester, later on this semester, that is. But really, that's more what it looks like. So what do we have here in this picture? We have a soma. Okay, we have the axon right here. We have a whole mess of dendrites off of this soma. And then we have all this stringy stuff with round red circles and round green circles. Each of those green and red circles is a synapse. So what we're seeing in this picture is this one neuron has about, I don't know what, 50, 60 synapses? That's not even that many. In your cerebellum, for example, you guys know what the cerebellum is? You can have one neuron that has 1,000 synapses. What does that mean? It means that that one neuron has to make sense of all of that information. And I'm going to show you how that happens. I don't think I'm going to get to it today, but for sure on Wednesday, because I have to be done by Wednesday. All right? So what are we going to do? We're going to see what two kinds of synapses that we have. Oops. We have electrical synapses and we have chemical synapses. And we're going to just tackle them one at a time. All right? Regardless, they're both synapses, regardless of communication between two cells. The synapse is just a junction that allows communication between two cells that you guys already know. So let's take electrical synapses first. Actually, we're going to draw it. And we'll just stick with the neuron, because that's the cell that we're familiar with in this particular chapter. So I'm going to draw a neuron and its axon. So we're just going to have an axon that's synapsing with another cell. All right, so I'm going to put our little presynaptic terminals here. I'll have that one out a little bit more than the others. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the membrane of another cell like that. All right? So that right there is the membrane of some other cell. I'm just going to put some cell. Now, what kind of cell could that be? That could be another neuron, that could be a glial cell, that could be an epithelial cell, that could be whatever, it doesn't matter. It's some other cell that this neuron wants to communicate with. And the information is flowing from left to right. This neuron is communicating with that cell. How is it communicating?